Hey everybody, this is Eli Freestone and you're watching my release candidate video for integrated product deployment term 1504. Today we're just going to go over the different features that I've implemented over the week. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so first off I've added in the active. The reason I'm showing this first though is actually I just discovered that there's a bug related to my search where that if I search and then clear out my search parameters and then try and sort with active, it actually crashes with an out of index that I haven't been able to look into yet. So I wanted to just show that that's functional, and then we'll just go ahead and change that to a different one, and then we'll do a search. We'll go ahead and just search for test because that's a recipe that I think has all the stuff that I want to demo. Anyways, I'm not particularly happy with the way the search is put together. The reason being iOS 8 actually Apple deprecated a search feature that was part of the parse search feature, and so now it's deprecated, it can't be used anymore, and the new one is not necessarily a direct replacement. So I did have to kind of hack together something to get it working. This is based on a little bit of Apple's documentation as well as the parse documentation kind of put together. But the reason I don't like it is because every time you add in a new character, it re-queries parse. Now, that's super inefficient and it can actually be a bit buggy and glitchy if you have a slow internet connection. So I'm not happy with that, but it's less of a bug, less of an issue than any of the other things I've been able to come up with so far, including I captured all of the recipes as an array and then searched through them that way, but that caused some other bugs with sorting and stuff like that. So unfortunately, this is kind of the best option as of now, but I'm definitely going to be trying to fix it so it's a lot more efficient. Anyways, let's go ahead and select test one, and I've changed the way the timers are done. They're now using a regular expression, so I can have a lot more leeway with formatting as well as stop bad formats that could cause crashes. And the reason that came about actually was that Mr. Madomo was able to create a crash with a timer that was formatted with the old format before I went to the 00:00 type format like a regular clock. I was using 3 hours 4 minutes, and that was going through actually as a over 24 hour just because the way I was doing it before, and then causing a crash after that. So I did go ahead and go through regular expressions and was able to actually expand the formatting that's allowed. So we have this first one that only has a single digit at the front. It still requires 2 digits after, and then we have a standard, and then we also have a stripped down 3H 4M, and I decided that only the H and the M are required. They don't have to be, they're not case sensitive either. As long as there's a number space H space number space 4, it will create an under 24 hours timer. And the same goes actually for over 24 hours, a number M for month, a number W for week, a number D for days. And all of those will work, although I do, let's just go ahead, actually let's just go ahead and show that this one I would potentially start, and then I have one at the bottom here, this 4H, that won't. So it just pops up an error message and says that these are the accepted formats, the under and over. I'm only specifying the two main ones though in their full form. I'm not really advertising that it can be, that there's a lot of wiggle room. I wanted to make sure that there wasn't a lot of crashes, but I do want the user to actually use the timer plus function as opposed to actually typing it in themselves. That way it's a lot more strict formatting, a lot less chance for errors, both user errors and creating the timers. So so I went ahead and just expanded it that way. All right, I'm going to go ahead and show you I rearranged the new screen here. We're now using 2 different segment buttons. The top one here is for the type, and that's used as a standard segment button, but then the bottom one here is actually for the different, we have timer, temp, or notes, and those just function as a regular button, but I did want it to look the same, so I thought it fit really well. And then for ingredients, we just have the plus button in the corner of the ingredients box, which is super simple, and there was actually one test user that it took him a moment to figure out what it was for, but I think it honestly, we had just gotten done eating dinner and he wasn't necessarily in the right state of mind. That was the second or third thing he did, but then everybody else had no issues whatsoever. So I don't think it was actually the button, just more we weren't necessarily in the groove yet. But yeah, there was one person that did have that issue. All right, so let's go ahead and just save. Oh, actually, I forgot to show you. There is. Oh, that was weird. It changed the. All right. Oh, because I changed it. All right. And then I also found that there was a bug with the instructions text view. If you're using a regular keyboard, it would actually get covered. So I actually scrolled the view up to show that. Uh, Overall, I'm not entirely thrilled with it because you do lose the navigation bar because I'm actually sliding the entire view up. But I'm sliding the entire view up because I'm actually using a UI control for the background. It's not a UI view, so that I can click anywhere outside of the keyboard or outside of the text views and it will dismiss the keyboard. And I also hooked that same logic into the buttons too, because otherwise it was not actually dismissing the keyboard like it was supposed to. But all of that works out quite well. Let's go ahead and change this back to 1 because that's what it's supposed to be. All right, so that all works quite well. And then also, I was originally going to be doing a gallery feature where the user could take pictures of their recipes as they progress, and it was, it's going to be a local thing, and but unfortunately that got, kicked to the back, and then I got distracted with something else, and it got kicked to the back, and then I actually was talking to one of my people that ended up testing for me, and his recommendation was actually to just get rid of the gallery altogether and then put some sort of a notepad, somewhere that he could jot down, progress-related notes. Every week he's going to be checking the gravity of his wine, and he wants to keep track of that, but it's not necessarily relevant to people that are going to be browsing his recipes. So adding him into the instruction box is just kind of make a big mess of it. So I'd actually talked to Mr. Madomo about it, and he recommended that I put a question in my user survey asking them what they thought about extra features, including gallery or notepad. And it was definitely a lot of people were more interested in the notepad idea, specifically for the reason that I stated, where they want somewhere that they can jot down stuff that's not relevant, that so they're not messing up their instructions. But people had some different ideas of how to implement it. Two people actually wanted to add another tab for a global notepad, which I didn't really like that idea, because what if you have a lot of recipes going at the same time? Then it's going to get really confusing. So I actually ended up putting it within the recipe details. And this one I'm just testing just to show the scroll feature I added in. Whenever you click in and the text goes behind the keyboard, it actually scrolls it up automatically. And this is based on UI scroll view documentation by Apple on how to use it with a keyboard. UI text view actually inherits from scroll view, so it was relatively easy to actually modify that and make it work for my case. But that works out quite well. And let's go ahead and show one that doesn't have any notes, just to show that there is a, oh, sorry, that's the wrong one, that there is a placeholder. UI text view does not allow placeholder like text field, but it was really easy to work in the logic to add in this text here, and then I even graded out so it's kind of the same type of vibe as the text field placeholder, and it just states that this is a good place to jot down progress related stuff. It gives a quick example, and then it also states that this is not shared with your recipe, so other users will never see it. So the user will definitely know this is where they put all that stuff, when they added the yeast, how much the gravity was on this week, so on and so forth, and then they can keep that on their own, and then as soon as you click into that, placeholder just clears out. Alright, so that's about it. This has been Eli Freestone, release candidate for IPD term 1504. Thank you for watching, and have a good night.